Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Welcome to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Cave Gilani. This episode of Crosstalk gives us a glimpse of the circus life with Starfish Circus. Starfish Circus is a group of trained performers who give students all across the country the opportunity to understand a different form of performing arts. Aerial Angels dedicated to 2 weeks to training students here at Germantown High School how to do unique tricks and stunts that you would see in a real circus. Today we will not only get insight on the students' experience, but also talk with associate directors and coaches who have worked one-on-one with these students. And with me now is Allison Williams, the head coach of Starfish Circus. Welcome, Allison.
Hi, Cave. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. So tell me about the ideology or the kind of the mantra behind Starfish Circus.
You make it sound so important. What Starfish Circus is really about is that our medium is circus, but our message is problem solving. And Starfish Circus is all about looking at something that appears to be impossible and then breaking it down into small steps, learning to accomplish those steps one at a time, not necessarily getting them all right on the first try, and discovering that you can do something that previously looked impossible. So we're all about support, help, teamwork, and doing things that look impossible.
So it's not just physical, but it's more mental as well.
You know, a lot of it is. I have to say that while some of the acts we do look for, you know, a great sense of balance or a great sense of hand-eye coordination or, you know, the ability to do a pull-up, a lot of what we do is about overcoming fears and being willing to work with your group. Okay. I can teach anybody to do partner acrobatics. You know, not everybody is going to be a professional partner acrobat, but if somebody is willing to show up to rehearsal, I can teach them to do an act that people will pay to see in 2 weeks.
Now, what acts make up Starfish Circus?
Partner acrobatics, aerial hoops, aerial silks, triple trapeze. This show we also have a solo trapeze, which is not an act we do all the time. Poi spinning, which is winging around glowing balls in the dark on the end of chains. Rollabola, which is a balancing act, and of course our little lions, who are just adorable. We get some of the younger brothers and sisters to put on little lion costumes and jump through a flaming hoop. And it's just adorable.
Oh my gosh, that sounds scary.
And we have a guest coach this time too, Ashley Male, who's come in from England, and Ashley's teaching hula hoops, and that should be pretty exciting too.
Okay, so why don't you tell me, how did Starfish Circus get started? How did this program come to existence?
Well, Starfish Circus got started because you should never tell me I can't do something. So I was at a circus convention, professionals in the field who are in artistic circus rather than like kind of circus. Artistic professionals in circus get together and have little conferences, and I went to a director's roundtable, and I was, you know, looking for information like, where do you get your insurance? How do you hire and retain good people? And the first question that somebody asked was, so what do you do to include underserved populations in your work? And I said, well, we go into high schools and we do some workshops. And at the time it was a much shorter term, you know, 1 workshop, 2 workshops. And a woman who was very politically aggressive looked at me and said, well, maybe you teach some kid to do a cartwheel, but that doesn't matter. And I was like, it totally matters. It matters to the kid who couldn't do a cartwheel before. It matters to the girl who thinks she doesn't have any upper body strength. It matters to the kid who's overweight and has not turned upside down since they were 5 years old. And so the name Starfish Circus comes from the story about the little boy walking down the beach. The tide has gone out. You know, he's flinging the starfish into the ocean. And the man comes up and says, you know, what are you doing? And he says, I'm flinging the starfish back into the ocean so they don't die. And the guy says, there are millions of starfish here.
make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference, yeah.
Right.
The kid goes, it makes a difference to that starfish.
Wow, I did not know that story.
Yeah.
That's, wow.
And I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but it really is about personal achievement. It's not about a particular student reaching a particular level. It's not about let's make Cirque du Soleil performers out of you. It's about what can each student experience that is personal growth for them. You know, so for one student, the personal triumph is they can do a triple in the aerial fabrics, which is a fairly big, fairly high level trick. For another student, the confidence to stand on somebody's shoulders and let go of the people supporting you, that's their big step. For another person, doing a forward roll is a big step. And each one of those things is valuable because it's about personal growth.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about your role now as head coach.
Well, the funny part is I'm kind of easing my way towards retirement.
Okay.
So I've been a full-time performer and a sometime college professor for about 20 years now.
Wow.
And in the past 10 years, I've been doing exclusively circus-focused performance and teaching. And I love it. I mean, I love performing. I love entertaining. I love talking directly to the audience that you get in live theater that you don't get anywhere else. I've done a lot of festival and street performing in Europe and in Canada, and I love getting to directly relate to the audience. And I love doing shows for people regardless of their ability to pay. But I also love writing. And so circus is beautiful and wonderful, but it's also incredibly time consuming, and I'm gradually moving into a career as a freelance writer and editor. What I do right now for Starfish Circus is I manage the program. I take care of booking us into the schools. I sort out where are we going to live, how are we going to get there, what equipment are we going to bring, where are we going to hang it up, is the insurance sorted out, you know, that kind of thing. And then I also get to teach partner acrobatics, and sometimes I teach aerial silks, and sometimes I teach triple trapeze. And today I'm teaching single trapeze, and then just whatever I can do. You know, I love it. My favorite thing is to find a student at auditions who we had in a previous Starfish Circus and who was maybe a little shyer or a little quieter, but a great student and a hard worker, and put them in a position where they get to step up even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now let me ask you about the preparation for these students. I know there are lots of students, as you said, come in more shy. How do you go about getting them to kind of step out of their comfort zone? What do you do in that scenario?
My favorite way to get students to step out of their comfort zone is to act like they are already there. You know, so of course you're going to do a forward roll. We're all doing forward rolls. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We're all going to do it. Of course you're going to stand up and stand on that person's shoulders, because there is no second choice. There is no not standing on the person's shoulders. And I like to think that when we coaches express our total confidence that a person is going to be able to do it, that they're going to be able to do it. And that doesn't mean they don't fail 5 or 6 times on the way up, but our job as teachers is to select movements and skills that we know can be executed in the time we have with the physical skill level that the students have. And then our second job as teachers is to break those skills down into learnable pieces. About 4 or 5 years ago, I started breaking down everything I taught a lot further into a lot smaller steps, and people were successful a lot faster, and they were a lot less intimidated. So I mean, that's really it. It's our job as the teachers to make it possible for them to be out of their comfort zone. And to say, well, previously your comfort zone was here, but now your comfort zone expands to the walls of the gymnasium.
Wow. I love that. I love that ideology. I love everything about it.
Thanks.
Now why don't you tell me kind of about these students that now they have done this. What do you think that once they accomplish it, what do you think they're leaving with? What do you think they're gaining out of the program rather than just being able to do it? Is there something else that they're getting?
I think they're leaving with problem solving skills. I think they're leaving with, don't look at something and say, I can't. Look at something and say, okay, what's the first step I should do to get towards this?
Exactly.
You know, so the first step towards a triple is learning to stand in the aerial fabric. You know, and everybody learns that on the first day. They won't all get to triple, but they all understand how to break it down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us
You're
in
welcome.
this segment.
So
I loved hearing about it.
We love being here at Germantown. This is a really particularly great school. The students take on a lot of personal responsibility. This is the only school where I don't have to do the program. And it's really a great place to be part of a program where the students are already working at a professional level.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome.
We'll see you in the silks.
Oh, for sure. And now, when we return, we'll speak to two of the head coaches about how they're helping out and bringing their own style to Starfish Circus. Join us. Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Cave Gilani. Now we are joined by two of the coaches of Starfish Circus, Marina Petrano and Alec Fuller. Glad to have you with us.
Glad to be here.
So the first question I'm going to ask is, how did you get involved with Starfish Circus? What first got you with the program?
So for me, I started as at my local high school, Traverse City, Michigan. I went in, I didn't really know what to expect. I was coming in with a few skills, gymnastics and parkour, and I came in and the silks were kind of my biggest interest. So I started out as a normal starfish, just like you guys, and then through the years, I kept coming back, kept working hard, and got in contact with Allison and Marina, and came up from there.
Okay. And Marina?
I actually started out with Starfish at my high school, where Allison Williams and MA did a residency program. They came into my high school to help a production of Carnival. Mm-hmm. At the end of the production, I really fell in love with doing aerial fabric and decided I wanted to make this my life. So I decided, all right, this is it. I'm going to train really hard. I'm going to go to circus school. I eventually did an internship with Aerial Angels, which is part of Starfish Circus.
Wow.
And then went to circus school professionally, graduated from there with a circus degree, and then have come back to join the company.
Okay, so now tell me, what Starfish acts do you to specialize in?
So for me, I come in, I'm all about the flips, the high energy and the acrobatics. I like to focus on parkour. That's my biggest thing, jumping from big jumps, big kongs, flips, and then acts like rollabola that involve balance and precision as well. That's kind of where I like to spend my time.
Okay.
Yeah, for Starfish, I generally coach aerial fabric, lyra or triple trapeze. For this Starfish, I'm coaching aerial fabric. I also coach the poi act for this Starfish. In previous Starfish, I've coached lyra, triple trap, aerial fabric, contortion, acrobatics, poi. Yeah.
Okay, so some of the viewers at home may not be familiar. What is lyra and some of the words you're saying, you know?
So aerial fabric is like the tissue or the ribbon that you see often in Cirque du Soleil is what people relate it to.
Right.
Lyra is actually what you see behind us, which are the aerial hoop.
Okay.
They're a big metal hula hoop that you hang up in the air. The triple trapeze is 3 trapezes stuck together into one trapeze. We often have 3 to 4 to sometimes 5 performers up on it at one time.
Okay.
Poi are awesome little balls of light that we swing around really fast in the dark and make cool patterns with. Partner acrobatics is about what it sounds like. We stand on top of each other.
Okay.
Yeah. Rollabola involves a pipe, PVC pipe, and a board, which you would then put on top of the pipe, and you work on it for balancing purposes and trying to hang on one foot. And you can do partner acrobatics as well as in the rollabola. Parkour is just jumping and kind of flipping around, having fun with your own body, and that's kind of your own thing. You can make that into whatever you'd like.
So all these acts sound very, you know, they require a lot of athleticism. It sounds like it, at least. How do you maintain your lifestyle? You know, is there certain things you need to keep up, like your diet, et cetera, to be able to stay in shape and be able to do this?
One of the really beautiful things I find about circus is that although serious circus performers, you know, most of them keep to a diet, most of them keep to a training regimen.
Right.
There is a place, I believe anyway, for just about everyone in the circus ring. That being said, with Starfish Circus, we invite everyone to come and be part of the circus. You don't have to have any sort of body type, no specific sort of diet.
Exactly.
There is really a place for everyone. So that being said, I personally do have, you know, a training regimen and diet I stick to. I'm actually gluten-free vegan, but not by choice. I'm just allergic to everything and not designed for survival. And I train anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a day when I'm doing Starfish, and usually around 5 hours a day when I'm not teaching Starfish. And I think that's different for every coach and every performer.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite thing about circus and how it works out is I don't like to work out, and I like to eat whatever I want. And what's great about it is that we're doing so much with our body from head to toe, whether it's the aerial fabric, the lyra, rollabola, or parkour, that you don't need to work out because the training is working out. So you're able to have fun. You can work out while having fun. It kind of comes hand in hand, and it's not anything I have to worry about too often. But of course, you know, I take care of myself. I take regular diet needs, and I try to stay as healthy as I can with regular training.
Okay, so now I know you mentioned that your schedule is kind of different when you're teaching and when you're working by yourself. So do you like to sometimes, you know, create your own new routines or tricks? Is that something you guys do as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I'm teaching Starfish, a lot of my training is upkeep. So my specialty as a performer is actually contortion. For people who don't know, that means I bend myself into funny shapes and sit on my own head. So my upkeep for contortion is stretching like 2 hours a day. So when I train for at Starfish, I'm doing upkeep. But when I'm home or when I'm during like training season, I'm always working on new acts or polishing the acts that I already have.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, why do circus if you know if you're not able to play?
Exactly.
I mean, circus is all about playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Oh, just if you create anything new by yourself.
So yeah, when I'm on my own time, I kind of come out and I actually get involved with the parkour community. It's a huge thing. So I come into every city and I get on Facebook, I get on social media, and I meet up with those guys. And from there, we kind of collaborate. And every city, every town, every state is a little bit different. So we're kind of always creating something different, whether it's friendships or moves, video, whatever it is. It's always kind of grouping up together with the group, whether we're working on silks or lyra. It's always something different, no matter where you are. So
now, I know you two have been involved with this for a longer time, but are there still some tricks that you two haven't been able to perfect yet?
There is always room for growth. There is always room for growth. Right now, I'm working on unlocked dives and catching. So basically on fabric, it's where you don't, normally with fabric, you do a drop. And at the end of the drop, you have tied a lock onto your body so that you fall and it catches you. Right now, I'm working on doing them without the lock. So I'm falling through the air and at the last possible second grabbing the fabric and fingers crossed catching.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm working on that right now. And with contortion, I'm working on doing a handstand and sitting on my head at the same time. I haven't quite gotten out the logistics. So there's always room for improvement. I'm sure once I get that, I will want to move on to something higher and you know, always pushing the limits of the body.
What about you, Al?
And for me, my biggest thing right now is doubles. I'm trying to work on double flips and double twists in any situation I can. It's a pretty powerful, big, and in your face. So that's kind of where I'm at, is working on bigger movements that involve drops as well as distances and lots of flipping.
Now, through all these tricks, these stunts, they're very hard. How do you keep coming back to it? You know, what keeps you motivated?
For me, I fall, but I'm always so close that I don't want to give up. So I'm always giving it everything I have. My feet might hit and I bounce back, but it gives me enough oomph, enough excitement to really take the next step. And every day I'm noticing gains as well. So I could do 1 pull-up one day, and through more practice, I can get to 2 pull-ups, eventually do a muscle-up. And just everyday training is what inspires me because I'm noticing improvement every day. Yeah, every day, little by little.
All right.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the seeing progress over time, and I actually genuinely enjoy just training. Like being a contortionist, my body starts to ache and pain when I don't train. Like if I don't train for a couple days in a row, especially if I'm doing a lot of traveling, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh man, my back, you know. And so if I don't train, it's actually painful for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually really enjoy training. But as far as working on new tricks, it's when I go to make a new act. When I go to make a new act and I want new tools, it inspires me to train new tricks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you two so much for joining us today. Now that we've spoken to the coaches, we'll speak to 2 students who have been part of the Starfish Circus program here. Stay with us. Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Kaif Gilani. And now we're joined by Ali Coyle and Trevor Harden, 2 of the students who are participating in this year's Starfish Circus. Welcome. So why don't you tell me, what acts are you 2 involved in?
I'm involved in a solo trapeze act. So it's just a single bar, room enough for 1 person, and I do acts in the air while spinning on a swivel.
Okay. What about you, Trevor?
I do a couple different things. I do poi, silks, and parkour. Parkour just being simply maneuvering from place to place as fast as possible over objects, just simple things like that.
And what's poi?
Poi, it's an interesting concept. It's like a string with a ball at the end of it, and you swing it around, and it's like an extended arm. You're just trying not to hit yourself. And
you said silks was the last thing. What's silks?
It's an aerial act. You have ropes that you climb up, and it is silk. Like, silks are made of silk. And you climb up, you do foot knots, you can do drops, which are like falling, and then the rope's tugging on wherever you tied it. Mm-hmm. And it's a really cool thing to do.
So has it been fun? Has it been easy? How has your experience been with it so far?
It's been really fun getting to learn the new skills, but I wouldn't say that it's easy by any means. It's very physically grueling. Mm-hmm. In addition to, you have to have the mental willpower to want to work through the pain to achieve the different moves and things, because it looks really cool and it's a fun skill to have. So it's been really fun.
It's been really interesting working with different people. I mean, everyone thinks that, oh, you just get up there and you do what you learn, but a lot of it is the people you work with and how you communicate with them, and just that can affect your performance. Mm-hmm. And the techniques you learn.
And now, Ali, you said that it hurts a lot, it's not easy, you need willpower. What keeps you coming back every day, both of you?
It's the learning experience, and like Trevor mentioned, the people that you work with, the coaches, the mentors, they're really awesome people. They have such great attitudes about everything, and everyone's excitement about what they're doing is really inspiring.
I mean, just like she said, I mean, the people, they're so friendly, and every now and then, be heat of the moment, people arguing, but I mean, it's the self-accomplishment, just you get a technique down and it's like, wow, I was able to do this. I thought it was going to be 10 times harder, but I mean, just the simple things keep you coming back.
Now tell me about the methods in which you learn. I know you have coaches. Tell me about how they teach you these tricks that you probably would have never tried before this.
We learn by doing. There are some instances where they'll get up on the apparatuses themselves and demonstrate, and then you just pop on up and try it yourself, and they'll talk you through it. But I think the learning is the most difficult part, because especially for the aerial apparatuses, you have to hold yourself up there while you're transitioning from each aspect of the move to complete it.
A lot of it is also keeping calm whenever they're teaching you, because if you get stuck in one of the aerial silks, you can't just simply freak out and start over. You gotta keep calm and persevere, because if you freak out, you could possibly fall and injure yourself. So listening to them and following instruction is very key in this.
Okay, now why don't you tell me about the hardest thing that you personally have had to do, whether it be a move or something you learned. What's been the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge for me are some of the drops that I will do in my routine. The trapeze is one of the harder apparatuses. There's a metal bar, and while I do have the ropes to hang on to occasionally, I have blisters and calluses on my hands. So it's a process, but they've hardened, and it's a mental thing, because the drops are very scary to do. You're letting go and your body's flinging back, hoping that the ropes and the trapeze are gonna catch you. And it's just that leap of faith, and once you realize that it's something you can trust, it becomes super fun really quickly.
Okay.
With poi, a lot of it is learning the technique, because a lot of it is solo, but some of it is everyone around you, because you gotta work in a formation. I mean, if one person is off, everyone can tell. So being able to communicate and learn everything everybody else is learning and coming to an understanding on what needs to be done, that's probably one of the hardest things to do. But with silks, it's probably a lot of muscle work, because at all times you're either holding yourself up with your feet or with your arms. There's a lot of work that has to be done in between those.
So would you say that these silks or the trapeze, some of these, would you say that not everyone can do them, or is it you have to have a certain amount of strength?
It's definitely something that you can work at. You may not be able to do it originally. I've always loved the silks, and I've been to several workshops with Allison, one of our coaches, and I still struggle to continually climb because my strength isn't there. But also, the first time I did Starfish my freshman year, I was not cast in an aerial act because I couldn't do it really at all. And I've progressed since then, and it's a lot of mental, and you have to have that excitement and the drive. And it really helps you push through whether or not you have the physical strength to do it. It's definitely something you can work at and improve.
Right.
A lot of it is, you know, during training and stuff like that, you'll be really tired and you'll just want to stop. But sometimes when the coaches are helping you, you know, it's weird. It's like when you hear their voice, it's like you gotta think that they were in our place at one point. They had to learn the steps. But I mean, and some of it isn't just power, it's also technique.
Right.
I mean, if it's just power, then anybody could do it that's strong. But I mean, if you look at some of the people, they're not all muscle. It's just they know how to work through it, use technique.
Okay, so now the last question. Why don't you tell me about your performance, the show that you're going to be having? What does that encompass? What's the show going to be like?
Our theme for this show is high school. So each act, whether aerial or on the ground, has a theme within high school that kind of represent different cliques, different stereotypes, different aspects of high school. Mine would be High School Heartbreak. I chose a slower song because I have a solo piece that allows me to be more expressive and lyrical. So I will be spinning on the trapeze while performing and trying to use my body and the positions that I will transition into to express that and evoke that emotion.
Trevor?
With one of the groups I'm in, Silks, we perform as the rebellious kids, you know, like we don't really care. We are our own bosses, but a lot of it we move as a group, so even though we're rebellious, we still care about each other and all that.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us for this show. And thank you at home for tuning in to this episode of Crosstalk. Starfish Circus will be performed at the Wolfpack Theater on Thursday, April 2nd. You can visit us on GHS-TV.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube to stay updated. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.